Alright, today we are building, I think, quite possibly the biggest set I've ever done, and probably the biggest one I own. It is the Lion Knights Castle. Now, Castle is a classic LEGO theme. It's got a very vocal fan base, always asking for more and more castles. It's had kind of a soft return with, well, this big set and a couple of gift with purchases that have come out. I've been sitting on this one since it was released. I just haven't had the time or the space to put it together, but today's the day, so let's go ahead and find us a bard to sing us a jaunty tune, and let's build us a castle. And here we have the tremendous Lion Knight's castle, which is simply an impressive set. The outside looks great. It's got such nice detail. It's really a beautiful castle. And the inside is just as detailed as well. There's lots of little nooks and crannies that I really love. There's this staircase that kind of winds up through this whole part of it that is just beautiful and fun to build. The gate and drawbridge work really well. I love these flags. There's lots of minifigures. I actually had bought a bunch from the Pick-a-Brick line just to build out my castle even more, so I can't wait to put those together. And it opens up even more, so that way you can access everything on the inside or make your castle look even bigger. And honestly, as far as modular buildings go, this one's got a fairly decent amount of space to play in. Even if the rooms are a little small, there's still so many different rooms that I think that makes up for it a little bit. My only one complaint, I think, would be that the only way to access this little forest man's hideout below here is you have to disconnect the two castle pieces. So that's the only way you can access their little hideout that they get to through underneath the bridge and in underneath this trapdoor in the courtyard. That honestly is one of only two issues I have. The only other one I have is there's a lot of female minifigs in this set, which isn't an issue. The issue is they all kind of look alike. Like, all the women have a fairly identical looking face. They managed to make most of the men minifigures look different, but unfortunately the women all have a lot of the same torso and a lot of the same legs, so they don't stand out as separate individuals as much as I would have hoped. Now, the build isn't as repetitive as I thought it would be, especially with all, these gray castle pieces, but it makes use of some very clever techniques that makes it very interesting to put together. I especially really liked this outside side entrance stairwell. It was really unique build that was just fun to find out as we put it together. And the little mechanism they did for this side to open is also super clever and is very neat with the way they did the hinge, and then it's also got this little balcony afterwards. And there's also a little frog hidden in there too, which is fun to find. The instructions were also kind of nice. You've got a nice blurb in the beginning with a little small detailed history of like castle with some pictures of the older sets and an interview with the designers. And then throughout, there's like little notes from a mystery person that you don't figure out who it is until you build their minifigure, which make sure you read all those, because there's a feature in here that I didn't even realize existed until I went back and read all those little notes that I might have glanced over as I was working on the video. And that is when you raise the drawbridge, it slides right down into a little hole and deposits people right into the dungeon, which is a fun little play feature that I think definitely harkens back to a bunch of old Lego sets that would love doing trapdoors that would drop people into dungeons and jails and all sorts of little places. The minifig selection is nice. You get a lot of them so you can populate your castle. You also get representatives from 3 different factions. You get the Lion Knights, the Forest Men, the Falcons. Would have been nice to see some references to Fright Knights, which, other than one little mention in those little side notes that I talked about, there's no real Easter eggs to those, but I feel like they'll pop up again sooner or later. So yeah, I think this castle is a lot of fun. It was well worth waiting on. I'm sorry I didn't put it together sooner, but if you're waiting for a double VIP point event, or you've just got some points burning a hole in your account, or if you just want to buy a castle, this one is definitely well worth it, and I think it's a great set. I do have one other little mention, not really a complaint, more of a note, is it doesn't scale very well to the medieval blacksmith ideas set that kind of kicked off the resurgence in castles in the Lego line. Just the blacksmith being a 3-story building is a little big compared to this castle. However, the things like the workshop and the forestman hideout, which, yes, that's the old vintage one. I couldn't find the gift with purchase. It's somewhere in a box with other Legos, unfortunately. But those scale fairly well with it, and I think they look great next to it and kind of work well to build out like your own little castle scene. All right, for my next action figure unboxing, I have the Diamond Select Muppet figures of Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem, featuring Dr. Teeth and Zoot, Animal, and Floyd and Janice. So we're going to be opening up these 5 figures and getting the band back together next time. So until then, stay safe, happy hunting.